Yo, what's good, everybody? Joey J. Ping here, checking in live, respectmyregion.com, back with another episode of the RMR Podcast. Today, we've got a very special guest, folks. We've got Vapin Apes, CFO and co-founder, man. And if you guys don't know, Vapin Ape is one of the best cannabis brands in Michigan. There's no doubt in my mind. If you guys go watch the product reviews on their full spectrum vape, I gave it an exceptionally high score. Their Rosin an exceptionally high score. And sitting here right now, I don't have one of their vapes, which honestly makes me jealous of you, Brandon. And so with that said, welcome to today's episode. How are you doing?
Doing quite well here in Ferndale, Michigan, Metro Detroit. It's a little gloomy outside. You know, it's that time of the year here in Michigan, but glad to be on. Thanks for having me, Joey.
Come on, man. It's a pleasure to have you. I've been hanging out with you across the country in a couple different places. You guys have been blessing me with some of the new flavors and strains and rosin, and so I'm really excited to learn about how you guys have built this brand. I'm interested in how the magic happened. I want to know about like how everything from like, man, when was it created? When did you have that idea? Who were you with? Like, the branding is sick. Like, where was the inspiration on that? I got a lot of questions, but we're going to take it one at a time. And so before we proceed any further, though, I got to shout out our sponsor, Brandon. Big shout out to our homies, Seedless Media. For those of you guys watching, if you guys need marketing support in the retail space, if you're a big brand and you got a bunch of big retailers and you need to get in front of the customers at those retailers, nobody can do it better in cannabis than Seedless Media. Be sure to tap in programmatic ads, SMS, loyalty. They run your social media. They'll help you with the content, all the nine. They're my guys. Now, Brandon, Michigan's a highly competitive market. So you becoming one of the best brands there, it's not without its own trials and tribulations. It's not without its unique set of problems, right? Michigan, they say it's a saturated place with a lot of weed, and a lot of it is super affordable. How did you guys create such a luxurious, premium, high-quality brand with great products to pair with that?
Yeah, man. Let's talk about Michigan. So we got 4,000, 5,000 brands, 1,000 plus retailers. Taking it back to kind of 2008 here in Michigan, we had the Medical Marijuana Act, allowing caregivers to grow. Michigan always has had a culture, a cannabis culture. So a lot of great operators coming from the 2008 caregiver games, perfecting their craft. And then, come 2018, 2019, they started to roll out the recreational program.
Yep.
And, what we saw is a lot of the legacy caregivers, get licenses and, build their businesses, build their brands. Some went down the vertical route. Some more just went cultivation, processing. I started out, my background is actually in traditional finance. So I was working in Chicago for a little bit in asset management, essentially helping the wealthy get wealthier, real honorable, right? But I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, exposed to cannabis at a very young age. So I've always, had a passion for cannabis. I say I have two core competencies, that being finance and cannabis. I'm the least handy man you'll ever meet. I don't know much about sports. I don't know anything about sports, but go Lions, right? So when I formally left my job in Chicago in banking, raised some capital to launch a venture here in Michigan. Back then I had a buddy that I grew up with. He's like, hey man, the rules and regulations in Michigan are changing. They're going to start issuing licenses. I can grow some great weed, but I need a business mind. You in? I said, I'm in. So 6 months later, I quit my job, ironically on 4/20 of 2018. That was real great.
That's some gangster shit. Brandon.
And back then, we wanted the whole vertical. We wanted to grow. We wanted to extract, co-packing, the whole 9 yards.
That's a lot to take on when you're brand new in it.
It is. And man, to be honest, we were way over our skis. Did not raise enough capital. Pivoted to just a co-pack model, because when I looked at Michigan, there's a lot of great brands out of California, Colorado. Of course, they want to come to Michigan. So setting up a co-pack operation where, hey, we're bringing your brand here to Michigan, get you in the stores. Funny thing about Michigan and Michiganders is consumers don't really give a fuck about out-of-state brands.
No.
They're very prideful of their homegrown operators, their homegrown brands. So not a whole lot of success with brands coming from out of state. Yes, Jeter arrived. They've done very well. Of course, Wild has done very well here. But what we see here today is a lot of legacy brands, a lot of legacy operators. You don't see the multi-state operators. You don't see the GTIs. You don't see much of the Crescos, the Verano Holdings. So really gave us small players an opportunity to make something for ourselves. So the whole Vapin Ape story, I said I started in co-packing, failed miserably, had some parting ways with some partners of mine, and pivoted to this asset light model. So instead of owning a license, instead of owning the real estate, really honing in on a brand, and that being Vapin Ape. So the legacy of Vapin Ape really came about 5 years ago, again, through the caregiver program. Back then we were building these in-house brands for our co-pack model. One of them really stuck out, this Vapin Ape brand. People always say, was it Bathin' Ape? Or I'm not that hip. I'm not that cool to know what Bathin' Ape was back then.
Vapin Ape.
Vapin' Ape. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Or Vape, I think it is. I forget what it is.
Something like that. Or there was the called the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Oh yeah, that came around too. Thank God NFTs are out.
Right. But no, we were before those trends. And again, back in 2019, we had 510 carts. Cotton wicks. You needed the battery, you needed the 510 thread, clogging issues, leaking issues, and then all of a sudden this all-in-one device, called disposable, all-in-one, really started to gain some traction. And we looked at the category and this is so ripe for innovation. Again, moving away from the clogging issues of the 510s, a discreet, easy to use device, being that all-in-one. So at the end of the day, Vapin Ape, we're a brand, but we also are a hardware and formulation company. So really staying on the trends of what's the next iteration. I mean, we're in our third iteration of hardware now. From the post systems to the postless systems, to really dialing in the internals with the voltage, with the resistance.
There's a lot of R&D that goes into making these products. It's a technology and a science, plus the cannabis technology and the cannabis science. It's two different layers in both of the same things.
And I'm a flower guy, man. I grew up with flower, back in the days where it was, the brickweed, where you had, their sticks and your stems, and, half the bud was seeds. So I've always been a flower guy, thinking about Vapin Ape, thinking about what we wanted to introduce to the market. We wanted that full flower experience that you get smoking flower in a discreet, easy to use device. A lot of our competitors back in the day, vapes specifically, you kind of would plateau. It was mostly just a distillate base with some flavoring. Today now there's full cannabis formulations that we implement in our vapes that do deliver that full flower experience, that entourage effect. It's not just about the THC, it's about, the minor cannabinoids, it's about the flavonoids, the terpenes, the esters, the aldehydes. So we've always been about delivering a superior product, a superior formulation. And at the end of the day, the hardware is so important. Quickest way to lose a consumer, failed hardware, leaking, clogging, very hard to win back a consumer. It's particularly.
I had that problem at first too, and then I realized it was user error. Remember my first review? I was over here trying to rip it like it was a damn plug and play or a stizzy. Like, oh, let me go ahead and just, and it was like, nah, this device to achieve optimum performance isn't about.
You gotta sip it. You gotta sip it.
It's a sipper, yes.
Yeah,
and it
it's
was
like the Rosins.
this, and it's, and for me personally, I'm terrible at reading directions. In school, my teachers would get on my ass about getting the work done and not putting my name at the top or reading any of it and just blazing through it or whatever. I'm notorious for that. And so the branding experience for me was so dope and so great when I opened it all, that I didn't read any of it. I was just looking at it and taking it all in. And then I just was like, okay, I got, you know what I mean? And you just got to think like, that hardware hit that rosin so perfectly. I think it was a hash burger rosin that I had.
It definitely was our rosin line. And it's interesting because, different oil viscosities, need different internal heat settings. So we lower the temperature of our rosin to make sure that, you're not burning away all the good terps on your first few hits. And you get that flavor from start to finish. There's this big debate now of, is it the clouds? People want the clouds, right? Yes and no. It's funny, back when I was 13, 14, smoking cigarettes back then, all I wanted to do was just blow out smoke, right? It was kind of this psychological factor. But with cannabis, you reaching for the clouds, you need a lot of heat, and eventually you're going to burn up the coil. You're going to burn up all the flavor, and halfway through your vape, you're just not going to get that same experience.
Yeah.
So it's so important to dial in the hardware to the formulation that's in the hardware.
And I want to go back to, we had a gentleman ask here on Facebook, what state? This is in Michigan, right? We're talking a highly competitive market, tons of brands. You're not the only live rosin brand. You're not the only person doing full spec, or, what people don't know is DISTI, full spec, CO2. These consumers don't know. They're just looking for what's good and what works, right? Rosin and the full spec. We're going to talk about how you do both. And I want to talk about the strain curation, because rosin is about the strain curation. It's about your partner, where you're getting the weed from, the inputs, the extraction, and then your process and decarbing it for your hardware. Those are all step-by-step layers for the rosin side. We'll get into that. The full spec, though, you guys are creating a unique situation there, where you also have a lot of other residual cannabinoids playing into the experience, the high, right? Because that one's a full spec oil. Is there botanical terpenes in that? Is it just cannabis? What's in that side of the oil?
Yep. So we do no botanicals, no artificial flavoring. We hang our hat on a full cannabis formulation.
Wow.
So our bread and butter, about 90% of our portfolio, is what we call our distillate plus HTE. Distillate does get a bad rep. But at the end of the day, distillate is just a highly purified THC, right? Now there's specs on distillate, right? You can have food grade distillate, call it your 82% THC. That again is really.
Can we take it a step further? Rewind half a second. I think there's one lower grade, and that's what people assume is distillate. People assume distillate is floor grade trim, shit off the ground, all the different negativities of whatever's extra left over. And people associate that kind of drama or wordage with distillate, and that's not true. Please actually dive into these layers of quality so people can understand distillate at a greater level.
Fire in, fire out. It's as simple as that. Now, at the end of the day, man, it comes down to the extraction system. And extraction systems have come a long, long ways over the past, five, even couple of years. To be honest with you, man, you could take the most bunk trim out there and blast it through an extractor, rerun it and rerun it and rerun it. And eventually what you're going to get is high purity THC with, excess minor cannabinoids like CBD, CBN, CBG. Wow. So to be honest, when it comes to distillate, yes, you could put in very fire material and your yield will be great, but you could also put in very trash material, continue to refine it and reprocess it, and it's no different than the fire that you put in on a first run.
Now, the question here is what is the qualities of what you're creating? What is that in the grand scheme of where people or the market's at? Because I hear conversion oil is a thing out there. Where is Vapin Ape at in terms of setting the standard of quality?
Again, full cannabis formulation. Now, when it comes to, again, our distillate plus HTE line, and I'll get to the HTE side in a second here, vape quality distillate. So we're talking about 92% total THC, call it 96 total cannabinoids. So again, it's not just the THC. You really want to have the CBD. You want to have some CBN, some CBG. So you're talking about 96% of this distillate oil base being cannabinoids. What's the other 3%? Well, it's plant lipids, fats, waxes that weren't extracted out. What we do is we take that high pure THC distillate and then reintroduce high terpene extracts that we source from California, actually, through our friends at Terpene Belt Farms. So what they do,
they grow strains and hemp stuff, right? Specifically for terpene extraction, right?
Correct. So they have genetics. They've bred out all of the THC from the genetics, leaving very highly rich hemp rich terpene hemp plants. So what they do is they harvest and use steam distillation. So it's a solventless extraction process that ultimately leaves the terpenes, just terpenes that you don't typically see in flower. I call them the minor terpenes, like terpene and ocimene, that very rarely show up in flower. But they've got just phenomenal genetics, a phenomenal genetic base. That it's the terpenes, again, the flavonoids, the esters, the aldehydes that come in, very concentrated. And to be honest, these terps, this high terpene extract, cost 5 times as much as the distillate base oil. So combining
so you utilizing all those custom formulations and being the Vapin Ape scientists in the lab, right? That allows you're taking these high quality ingredients, these terpenes, these HTEs, these inputs, and you guys are creating these black cherry kushes and these pineapple. I forget what the other one was for that, but so you're making these into the exact thing that you want.
And there's quantities of these. So, they're harvesting, thousands of plants. What has really been a key to our success is the consistency of our formulation. So, when we're planning our innovation calendar, we're looking a year and ahead. What are going to be our drops for the summertime? What's going to be our seasonal SKUs for, the winter and fall? Our core lineup typically consists of 6 always on SKUs and 2 rotating seasonals. Now, the animal mints that we launched with in 2022, when Vapin Ape finally hit metric, legally here in the state of Michigan, the animal mints then is the same formulation of animal mints today. So consumers can always rely that, it's the same effect, same taste, same formula, that consistency that, in flower, you can get a Tom Brady over here, you can get a Tom Brady over there, but, is it the same Tom Brady, or does someone, change up the name on metric? There's a lot of fuckery that goes around here in Michigan, but what consumers know about us and our brand is that it's consistent batch after batch.
I love that. Vapin Ape with the consistency and the custom formulation, which is huge. And especially with the all cannabis ingredients. I like that. And I can also too co-sign. I mean, again, folks, go look at the reviews that I posted about Vapin Ape. The product is phenomenal. The hardware is phenomenal. The packaging is phenomenal. The terpenes are there. It's arguably one of the top distillate products in the whole country and potentially in the world. I'll go that far to say it. Let's switch over to the rosin. Now, the rosin is fresh frozen cannabis flower, right? Sometimes there's sugar leaves left on it or trim or whatever it is. They don't always trim it very great if they're going to run it, freeze it. And then they freeze it at subcritical temperatures. You guys or extractors then take it when it's ready, start washing it, getting the various levels of trichome heads captured. What is it? It's
through a micron mesh.
It's a freeze dryer, right? That dries it out, right?
It's so essentially take it out of the cryo freezer.
Yeah.
And typically,
It's
if
like
you're making,
sandy, and
yeah,
then
so
you
if you're
guys
making
bag
high
that up
end
and
like
squish that.
tier 1 rosin, this is where it's fire in, fire out.
Yeah.
You could not use trim or sugar. Like, you need good flour, make good rosin, and essentially you're just mixing it with ice. I mean, sometimes it's ice, sometimes it's other kind of solvents, but ultimately all of the trichomes go through the microns, and different salt washers have different standards for their micron levels. So call it like 90 to 120 is going to be like your filet mignon, your 70 to 150, call it your prime rib. We always go with the tier 1. For us, always delivering quality products. We're not washers, we're not extractors at heart. We're a brand, we're a formulation company and a hardware company. So for our rosin line, we partnered with Peachy here in Michigan, that arguably one of the best washers here in the state, won a few awards, and they have been just phenomenal partners for us. So it's
co-sign that.
Phenomenal
group.
Collaboration, finding the right operators to work with that do good business and are all about putting out a great product for consumers.
Peachy Hash, man, that group there, that was some memorable rosin. I've been talking about Peachy Hash, your vapes, their hash ever since August. Yeah, I've been running around saying that they got that y'all had some of the best in the entire country for your categories. Without a doubt, absolutely phenomenal products and a phenomenal collaboration in a day and age where it's harder than ever to get shelf space. It's harder than ever, more expensive than ever to have to go build the relationships and spend the time in the community and building collaborations
and team, man. Like, I could not have done this without my partner Alec. So my partner Alec comes from Big Alcohol, Anheuser-Busch, product innovation, just a master of his craft when it comes to marketing, sales programs, trade programs. A creative team is just freaking best in the state, man. And you can create great products, but if you don't have a great brand that connects to consumers, you're not going to get much traction, man. You really need a super solid team with very different expertise. Again, I'm a finance production guy. I understand oils. Alec doesn't necessarily know, the extraction process, but he knows how to build a brand and how to build a structure and architecture around a brand and how that brand connects to the consumer at the end of the day. So, for example, we've all of our strains, call this papaya punch or our animal mints. We've personified these cultivars into apes. What's the animal mints ape doing today? Well, he's a DJ. Our animal mints is more of a mellow guy. Our Maui Mango was more of a surfboarder. Our Jack Frost was a snowboarder. So, just giving a little personality and life to these cultivars and to these products that
I love
that consumer.
I love that. Differentiating your brand from others through these personalized, marketing or just more relatability across the brand. That's a key component to growing it. And I want to touch base. I want to circle back to Michigan, the market as a whole. It's highly competitive. It's 1,000+ retailers. It's huge brands. There's conversion oil of these hemp farms and THCA people doing something they're not supposed to be doing to get their costs a little bit better to improve their margins, right, and things like that. It's been pretty volatile there, to say the least. What are some of these things? Obviously focusing on core, like the core quality, right, is going to be huge, right, and maintaining that consistency. But is there anything else that you could really say can contribute or has contributed to your guys' rise to success in that state?
Playing by the rules. The CRA has started to do its crackdown on the conversion oils. a lot of the black market oil that was coming in from California, some of the biomass that was coming in from New York, and, just riddled with pesticides. Unfortunately, sorry to say, like we bought an oil that was riddled with pesticides, and it was through the metric channel, and we had to destroy a ton of vapes. And so it goes back to finding the right partners that you can trust, that aren't cutting the corners.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten this far, the good operators, like there's so much to lose, and, why cut corners? But I will say the CRA, some of the labs out here, Infinite Chemical Analysis, Josh Swider is their CEO, has just done a phenomenal job getting ahead of this, making it a priority of his to really clean up the industry here in Michigan. Now, pricing it's a function of oversaturation, potentially, of licenses. Michigan is an unlimited license state. Anyone can get a license, anyone can get a cultivation and start growing. But, today's pounds, indoor flower, call it $600-$700 per pound. That is just barely above the cost of production. I'm not as optimistic as I was in Michigan. I think we'll see a lot of operators go out of business just because they can't keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And then at the retail level, it's, again, oversaturation. You've got small municipalities that have 10 dispensaries there, all fighting for consumer traffic. And what do they got to do to drive traffic? Is they got to run promos. They got to be the lowest price products, on the street. And so they're competing against each other, fighting with the vendors, the brands, to get us cheapest price.
Mm-hmm.
It's this, spiral.
Yeah, it's a very much a cyclic, time systematic situation that was ultimately created by, and I hate to put all the blame on any one group, but a lot of it would place on just the way it was legislated in so many different places. They just don't really understand the full gravity of, the consumers and the habits and the culture, the cycle, the legacy market. Think about all those articles we've read or heard, Brandon, about when they make those predictions and how big the black market really is. Like, they haven't really any clue.
No, I'm thankful. I think Michigan has had a very successful program, again, allowing, the small operators, the ones that, don't have the $1 million investors, enter the market and try to make a name for themselves. Other states like Illinois and, New York, Florida, you've got to have tens of millions of dollars to enter that state. So I do give my hats off to the program here in Michigan and allowing us small operators that, didn't come from money. It's extremely difficult to raise money in cannabis, particularly today. But yes, is there oversaturation? Yes. Will there be, a cleanup of kind of the bad actors and, the actors that may know how to, the operators that know how to grow some really great products, but do they have the business acumen to make it for the long haul?
Absolutely. Now, Brandon, before we get you out of here, I wanted to do a little bit of a show and tell, right? We've got a podcast episode called Grow and Tell. And so I have your guys' website pulled up. And thankfully, as you said, you have one of the dopest digital, one of the dopest marketing teams in the game. And so your guys' website is fire. I've got it pulled up here for us right here. As I scroll, look at this, you guys. The whole lineup comes out, right? How sick is that? Oh, my God. Super Lemon Kush, right? Jack Frost, Animal Mints, Pineapple Haze, and that Maui Mango right there on the packaging. Look at that, dude. That's so dope. And then as we scroll down, folks, make sure we tap in. We can see the all-in-one actually in the exploded out version. Oh, and you fill the oil? That is so dope.
Again, hats off to our amazing creative team.
Wow, that is sick. Let's watch that again, you guys. That's what it looks like when I'm hitting a blinker, everybody. Just going down. I love it. And then we go back down here into another, so you guys can see the packaging up close. Again, that Jack Frost, that Grape Runs, that Maui Mango, that Pineapple Haze. How dope is that? Ooh, papaya.
And if you click on one of them, hit the click on one of them.
Oh, click on one. All right, I want to check on this Wintergreen Supreme.
So again, very,
Limonene.
very terp focused. What type of flavors could you expect? What type of effects you could expect? I'm no MD. I can't tell you whether you're going to, limonene is going to make you more uplifted. I think everybody's body reacts differently to cannabinoids and terpenes.
Absolutely. No metal heating, no heavy metals, no cutting agents, no pesticides. Man, you guys really do it. And we have the location. Now, obviously, there's nothing here where I'm at, but we can go into Michigan. Woohoo! Look at that, folks. Come on. As easy as that. Look it up. Come on. We got a bunch of locations. This is in the upper part, right?
Yeah, we might need to update this. So we're in approximately 350. Oh, there we go. Yeah,
there's a bunch for Detroit. There you guys go. You guys fly in there. How dope is that, man? You guys are out here killing it, man. It's so dope. As you said, you guys are a small business, now growing quickly to become such a force there in the Michigan market. Brandon, I'm inspired by you to do things like this. I think what you guys have going on is super dope. It's like you guys are making something that I can wear with my Raider stuff or with my streetwear or with my clothes. It's fashionable, it's quality, but then you rip the two different styles of vapes, the full spec HTE, and you rip the rosin, and they're both great for the individual products that they are. So I have to say thank you and applaud you guys and your team for that. You guys are doing great work. Now, Brandon, before we get you out of here, do you want to share anything with the people? Do you have anything coming up? Is there some exclusive info you can potentially share with us? What's some Vapin Ape news for the people watching?
Keep an eye out for our sauce line dropping in December.
Okay.
This is a collab with Infinity Extraction Solutions that are just really came to Michigan with some of the knowledge, the equipment for custom formulations, all BHO extraction, that really know what they're doing. So keep an eye out for our sauce line coming out in December.
Okay.
And then catch us in Illinois. We are expanding to Illinois middle of next month. So
congratulations.
Illinoisans, you can buy your Vapin Ape there now instead of driving over across the border.
Love that. Well, congratulations on that growth, again, on the success. And tip my hat to the entire team, man, making great products, designing great branding, pushing out solid marketing campaigns. To anybody of you guys watching, if you guys want to learn more, be sure to check out Vapin Ape. You guys can just Google it. It's right there. You guys can also search through their retailers, location stuff on their website. I encourage you guys to call any one of those and double check to confirm if they have that product there to give it a shot. The one that I tried that was fucking phenomenal was the pineapple one. Absolutely incredible. And then that Black Cherry Kush has been traveling with me since I saw you in Chicago.
I see you, Benzinga.
Oh,
sorry, not Benzinga, MJ BizCon.
Yeah, I'll be out there at MJ Biz. Yeah, please please hook it up with some more, man. I'm a big fan of them. To any of you guys watching, though, these guys have some of the best vape products in the game. So if you happen to make your way over to Michigan, if you happen to make your way to Illinois, there's one vape that I recommend among all the others, and it would be vape. Well, it would be two. It would be Vapin Ape times 1 and Vapin Ape times 2. So it's as simple as that. If you want to get high on the potency or if you want to rosin and flavor chase, PT hash times Vapin Ape is the shit. Let's go. Today's episode, folks, brought to you guys by Seedless Media. Be sure to visit seedless.media in your URLs if you want to hire a group for marketing support. My guy Steve Knapp, CEO, is available if you want to reach out on LinkedIn or hit me direct. I'll plug you in. Brandon, congratulations and thank you again for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure, Joey.
It's been a pleasure. I'll see you here in about 10 days.